A few weeks ago, we talked about the fact that the Trump administration is actually trying to redefine who is living in poverty here in the United States. They want to be able to kick people off their benefits, say that our poverty numbers are decreasing, but not by helping people, by making them make more money, but by just changing how we count people who are in poverty. Part of that involves, inflation and chained CPI. I explained it all in the previous video if you want to go back and check that out. But here's the thing. The Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, a liberal think tank, went ahead and crunched the numbers on how many people would be affected if the Trump administration is successful, which it appears they likely will be, in changing who is counted as living below the federal poverty line. And here is the list of what's going to happen in this country if they change this definition. More than 250,000 adults would lose health insurance through Medicaid. More than 300,000 children and some pregnant women would lose health insurance through the CHIP program. Millions of people would receive fewer subsidies for purchasing health insurance on the Obamacare marketplace, making it too expensive for them to afford anymore. More than 250,000 seniors and people with disabilities would lose or receive less access to the Medicare Part D subsidy program, forcing them to pay more for prescription drugs. More than 150,000 seniors and people with disabilities would lose premium assistance for Medicare Part B, meaning they'd have to pay over $1,500 to see a doctor. Nearly 200,000 people would lose food stamp benefits. More than 100,000 students would become ineligible for free or reduced price lunches, and more than 100,000 extra would lose free meals. And about 40,000 infants and young children would lose access to care such as breastfeeding support and healthy food through the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. And that's just a start, folks. That's what would happen when you add up all the numbers to millions of people in this country if this administration does the sinister move of simply changing the definition of who lives in poverty. And the only reason they would want to change this definition is to boast about their numbers. Because suddenly, if they change it and these people who are in poverty are no longer considered to be living in poverty, Trump gets to come out and say, hey, we just reduced the poverty in this country by 10% overnight, quite literally. Aren't I the best? I'm so great and wonderful. Everybody should vote for me in 2020 because no other president's been able to do that. Yeah, because no other president was stupid enough and heartless enough to do that. But this also goes along with the long-held Republican belief of let's cut all the benefits. Let's kill social safety net programs. Force women to have babies, but if they're too poor to be able to afford any kind of prenatal care or post-birth care, oh well, that's your fault. Too bad you couldn't fix the problem because we passed a law saying you had to have the baby, but we're not going to help you out, even though you were raped or even though this was a case of incest. Yep, sorry. That's all on you, because that's who the Republican Party is. That's who they've always been, at least throughout my entire lifetime. I understand that at some points in American history, they were different. This is not who they were, but it's damn sure who they are now. And this is exactly what they want to do to this country. Kick millions of people off federal assistance programs by tweaking a few numbers here, changing a definition there, and then taking all the credit for supposedly lowering the poverty numbers in this country. Meanwhile, millions of people starve. They die early because they can't get medical care. But those aren't things that Republicans care about. All they care about is saving a little bit of money, because eventually that money is going to have to make its way back to the wealthy elite in the form of probably another tax cut. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, if you like what you see here, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And now you can also become a member of Ring of Fire and get exclusive early access to certain Ring of Fire videos all throughout the week. Just click on the little join button right below the video.